think he is showing a real odd way of being attracted to our city. If he loves our city, he should just figure out how to work with folks. And I think the last thing that I'll say is, if he was really serious about transforming our immigration system in this country, he would pass a law. There's a bipartisan law right now on the Senate side that would provide more border support, more judges to move asylum cases faster, to create pathways to citizenship. He's not doing it because he wants to stoke fear into people so that he can ultimately behave as the supreme existence, which is quite dangerous, because when you have a leader that believes that they are supreme and above the law, there's some real nasty history that demonstrates how damning that can be for the people on the planet.
Hearing that children aren't going to school, people aren't going to work, there's a level of fear out there that we have to bring down. And as authorities, we have a responsibility to be that calming voice.
Well, there's a federal law that clearly states if you are undocumented and you are convicted of a crime, you are subject to deportation. That's the law. I fully expect the federal government to uphold that law. Being a welcoming city just simply states that our local police department will not behave as federal agents. There's a clear separation of powers there. Look, every administration, by the way, has deported individuals from our country. Every administration.
You've been invited to speak before Congress. Will you go, and what do you expect to tell them?
I'm going to turn that over to my corporate counsel, Mary Richardson-Laurie.
Good morning, Mary Richardson-Laurie, Corp Counsel. We did receive an invitation from the Oversight Committee, and it is under legal review, so we are not able to respond directly to your question in terms of whether he will go. It is a communication, and we'll be making legal determinations as to the substance of that communication.
If we could follow up with you just on that, would you be inclined to go if your legal representation tells you that you should? And Mayor, I'd love to hear from you if you would.
Mary Richardson-Laurie Corporation Counsel. I appreciate the question and the interest. It would be premature to talk about going until such time that we properly digested all the legal issues as well as the other substantive aspects of the communication from the Oversight Committee.
So you're not even clear right now whether he could be compelled to go?
It's an invitation that we have received. It is not a document that compelled.
The White House also put temporary funding, cut temporarily funding to projects across the country, nonprofits, agencies, governments. I'm wondering if you can talk about what could be affected or what you're worried about or watching. In particular, I'm wondering the red line, is that in jeopardy of being on hold or cut at all?
Well, look, it's, again, no secret that this administration has a great deal of disdain for working people. I'm going to pass it to my corporate counsel here, but, I had a conversation earlier today with Senator Durbin as well as Senator Duckworth. These are unprecedented attempts, but to attempt to defund childcare or to defund, infrastructure projects, this is something that is well outside the purview of the executive office. These appropriations have been mandated by the legislative branch. These are laws. And, we as a country of laws and democracy, we prefer when we have leaders who actually are committed to upholding that law. Mary, anything else?
Mary Richardson, Lawyer again, Corporation Counsel. Appreciate the question. All the EOs and directives are under legal review. We, like every other city, that it will be subject to what has been advanced as a path forward. We'll be analyzing it to see what its impact is on the city, both in terms of our budget, any existing projects and initiatives. So rest assured, we are continuing that review. It's again, I'm going to say I have to be careful about saying more at this time, but we are analyzing it for impact. Thank you for the question.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Do you or any of your colleagues here know the exact number of Chicago residents who have been detained since ICE and Immigration Enforcement began their new operation here on Sunday?
I'm going to turn that to our police superintendent, Larry Snelling.
Good morning, everybody. Superintendent Larry Snelling, Chicago Police Department. What I can tell you right now is that we don't have an exact number of Chicago people who have been detained, but what I can tell you is that the number in the Chicagoland area exceeds 100.
That includes near suburbs as well? The Chicago
Yes.
area? Okay.
Yes. So we're looking at the Chicagoland area, so not just Chicago itself, but all of our surrounding suburbs.
And one follow-up perhaps for you, Superintendent. What communication, if any, are you hearing? I know you are not allowed to communicate about people's immigration status with federal officials, but what are you hearing, if anything, from immigration enforcement officials, your officers, your department?
So here, our officers have direct information on how to respond to these things if they're called to it. And as you can see, standing here is the leadership of all of our bureaus. That communication goes out to our officers and the leadership and who's to respond if officers are called to a location that pertains to immigration. As you know, based on the Welcoming City Ordinance, that we're prohibited from engaging with federal agencies when it comes to immigration. So we follow the laws around that. However, there is direct communication. It would be irresponsible of me as the leader of the police department in the city of Chicago not to have some type of communication with these federal agencies to know when they're coming to our city. And with that communication, we do get information as to when they're going to show up. We don't get that information way ahead of time because obviously they're not going to jeopardize their operation at the same time, and rightfully so. I understand that as an agent of law enforcement. So the communication is there, and my focus is to stay in direct contact with them so that we know what's going on at all times in our city.